A letter that King Charles, then Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, wrote in the immediate aftermath of Princess Diana's death on the 31st of August 1997 is shedding new light on his grief. Indeed, King Charles wrote about, quote, unbearable emptiness just under 4 months after the late Princess of Wales died in a car accident in Paris, with the letter being sent to Peter Houghton and recently selling at auction for $2,000, according to the Daily Mail. It is clear in the letter that Houghton is also grieving, as the former Prince of Wales writes that his heart, quote, bleeds for him, who he described as a life enhancer. Charles added that he could imagine the agony Houghton was going through and, quote, longed to wave a magic wand to transform the situation. The letter then goes on to address his, quote, bewilderment and confusion that accompanies the removal of someone so young from the world, a familiar feeling as his ex-wife, Princess Diana, was just 36 at the time of her death. The 3-page handwritten letter was written on Highgrove House letterhead and dated December the 8th, 1997, just over 3 months after Princess Diana died, leaving behind, of course, Prince William and Prince Harry, her sons, just 15 and 12 respectively. The letter is signed Charles and has its original envelope included in the sale in the auction that I just mentioned, which had the future monarch's instructions for the letter to be delivered by hand. Per the Daily Express, the actual seller of the letter, though, is unknown. It was handled by RR Auction out of Boston, and a spokesperson for the company said that, quote, this lengthy handwritten letter to Peter expresses his sympathy upon the death of a loved one. Charles was particularly emotional at the time he wrote the letter, as Princess Diana had also tragically passed away just a few months before, in August 1997. So this is essentially a letter of condolence from the then Prince Charles, Prince of Wales, to Peter Houghton over the death of his wife, Liz. The letter also elaborates, they say, on the royal's Christian faith and his belief on what happens when someone dies, quoting a Bible passage that reads, quote, now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. He added, personally, I believe that there is another dimension beyond this physical one, and that we will be amazed to discover it for ourselves when we eventually, or at a moment, called upon to make that certain journey for ourselves. Now, this is something that has been unearthed, and indeed it's sold at auction recently, which is why I thought I'd bring it up now, but also to do with Princess Diana. Recently, she has been mentioned because Prince Harry, her younger son, has now arrived in Colombia for a 4-day visit with his wife, Meghan Markle, from the 15th of August. I say it's 4 days. And during a meeting at breakfast that morning with the South American country's Vice President, Francia Marquez, and her husband, Marquez shared her admiration for Princess Diana with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Earlier in the day at a press conference ahead of the couple's arrival, the Vice President was also asked about a trip that Princess Diana had supposedly planned to make to Colombia shortly before her death, and this is according to the Daily Mirror. She said, quote, I think that Prince Harry being here today after that dream of his mum's visiting of this country is an opportunity to show the best of our nation, to show who Colombians are. We are people who, in the midst of adversities, do everything possible to give the best of ourselves. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will apparently visit the cities of Bogota, the capital, Cartagena and Cali during their visit to Colombia, which has been very controversial, and I covered this in a previous video because they have coined it as a royal visit, and this unsurprisingly caused a lot of outrage. And I mean, I don't blame people how they can dare to call this a royal visit. It's just absurd. I mean, in 2020, of course, they stepped back from being working royals and then moved across the ocean to California and have lived there ever since with their children, and now are kind of coining themselves as royal figures still, even though they are not working royals. They still retain the titles, but have nothing to do with the day-to-day handling of royal affairs or anything like that. And we already know, though, that Meghan Markle does love to use the royal branding to her advantage, because her new brand, American Riviera Orchard, indeed uses that royal calligraphy, the kind of royal crest style, and she really is playing up the idea that she is still the Duchess of Sussex, indeed to sell products. They also rebranded their website, of course, to make it look very royal, and, basically they want the benefits of being royal family members, working royals, but without any of the responsibilities of contributing to that system. And while the couple are currently in Colombia as of the recording of this video, they are not actually the first royal visitor to the South American country. So they cannot kind of use that for their propaganda campaigns, I guess. But a decade ago, they had a royal visitor, King Charles indeed, and Queen Camilla, then known as Prince Charles, and the Duchess of Cornwall, of course, paid an official visit to Colombia as part of a larger tour of Latin America in 2014, as they also undertook engagements in both Bogota and Cartagena. ABC News reported at the time that Charles and Camilla were the, quote, most senior members of the royal family ever to visit Colombia. And of course, that title still stands. Harry and Meghan are nowhere near the level of respect of the king. King Charles also visited Colombia as a naval officer on HMS Minerva in 1974, according to the BBC. That visit in 2014, though, wasn't even the most recent visit by a royal family member. Indeed, Harry's aunt, Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, was the most recent visit to Colombia, apart from Harry and Meghan. In November 2023, she went on a 3-day official royal tour of the nation, where she was received by the Vice President, and it was Marquez who then announced earlier this month that Harry and Meghan would be visiting Colombia. Sophie visited Colombia in support of the United Nations Women, Peace and Security agenda, and she undertook engagements in both Bogota and Cali, centered around the rights of women and girls and survivors of sexual violence. So while we are not fully sure on the reasons for Meghan and Harry's visit to Colombia, of course it will boost what they think will be their standing, and of course Meghan is always willing to go back and embrace her heritage wherever that may be. She'll probably claim she has 50% Colombian heritage as well, but unlike them, the royal family and Sophie the Duchess of Edinburgh indeed had a proper reason to go to check out the work that was being done to prevent violence against women and to help sexual violence survivors in Colombia, and indeed to support the United Nations initiative to help that as well. Ultimately, though, this visit to Colombia by Meghan and Harry is just the latest in a kind of series of events that they have been doing after their trip to Nigeria in May as well, both of them becoming part of Harry's Invictus Games at the same time in 2022, with Colombia becoming the first South American country to join the Games. The country made its debut at the International Adaptive Sports Tournament for Wounded, Injured and Sick Service Personnel and Veterans in Dusseldorf, Germany in September 2023. So that was a bit of a ramble, I guess. It kind of went off tangent there, but I thought I'd just bring you this update about the letter about Princess Diana and the kind of intimate meaning behind that as well, selling at auction recently, and then how it also links to Colombia with the recent trip, and then a bit of a rant, I guess, about Harry and Meghan. Always healthy to have a good rant about them, though, I imagine. So yes, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you think of this video? If you liked it, please like and subscribe. If you disliked it, dislike. Check out the channel membership for some exclusive perks, but as always, thank you very much for watching to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.